Welcome back to another episode of Just Jossin Around. Today, my guest is the one and only Morgan Gallo.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
You know what? I hate introducing podcast guests because it's always this like, do I have like a clapping sound effect, or you're like hyping it up and then it's silent. So.
And then also it's the thing of like, you know, we've had a conversation beforehand. We've been chatting just a little bit before, and then I'm like, right. Let me pretend like I'm just now seeing you on the screen for the first time. Yeah. So I'm glad that game recognizes game, and
oh girl, I recognize it.
That's awesome.
I feed off it.
I'm so happy that it worked out and you could come on, because I will say this. I've been following you. I did have to start a new Instagram account. So my new Instagram account, that doesn't count. But on my old one, I'd been following you for a very long time. And then I ran into you in Kansas City.
Yeah. God, that feels like forever ago.
That was a while ago, but I remember being like, I had no shows at the Barrel, but I told my friends, like, we're going.
That's so cool. I like hearing that. That's really cool to me.
Yeah, and you were, at the time, you were touring with Morgan J, right?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Holy shit.
Was that really that long ago?
Well, it feels long because so much has happened since then in regards to like finishing that tour. And then like now he is like triple times famous that as he was. Like he's blown up incredibly. Yeah. So now he's like doing even crazier tours and shows. And then like my life has just really changed since then, in good ways. But yeah, it feels forever ago. It was like October or like November maybe.
Wow, that would make a lot of. Did you go on like? I feel like I swear I saw a post of you saying like you were kind of going on like a small like hiatus after that tour. Was that like, I don't know, maybe I'm
yeah, I can't remember if I like announced it, because I get really cringed out when people post on social media and they're like, I'm taking a break from social media. It's like, you could just delete the app and no one needs to know. So I didn't say anything. I just kind of stopped posting for a while, and I didn't do shows like all the month of April. But then I came back, and I think I posted a story that was like, you know, been out of the game for a while, doing shows now, like here's my link, whatever. But yeah, I needed a break.
When did you have an insane following? When did you start like acquiring that? When did that start happening? What?
It's just funny because like, I think before I had a following, I of course I was like, oh my gosh, I want followers. Yeah. I want that every comedian wants followers, not only because it's like makes you feel validated, but also now it's kind of a part of the industry. But
it is.
Now that I have it, it feels like this different type of pressure, because people think that I can sell tickets. They think that a bunch of people are going to come to my shows, but it's actually like not that way at all.
Sure.
Because I have a lot of male followers and they just want to have sex with me.
Literally, I saw you posted on your story today. When I saw the percentage of male followers, I was so shocked, because I was like, I mean, I don't know. That's not what I expected. And I don't know. Yeah. That was crazy.
Yeah. 90% is too much.
That's a lot.
It's too many men. But sorry, to answer your question, I was very ambitious when I first started doing comedy, and I have a degree in public relations. And so I just like a year and a half into comedy was filming all of my sets. I saved up money to buy a really nice camera. And so I just like started posting clips because I thought, well, everyone else is doing it. You know, I'm not a great comedian a year and a half in, but I might as well. And one clip in particular went like insanely viral to the point on TikTok, to the point where I think I gained like 70,000 followers.
Damn.
From starting at like, my account was at like, you know, maybe 1,000 or whatever. But because of that one video, it like blew up. And then people started looking at my other videos and whatnot. But it kind of was just that. And then that was at the end of like 2021. And then after that, I just kind of kept posting clips, and I didn't really have a strategy. I was just like throwing shit at the wall.
Yeah.
And then now I'm kind of in this weird area where it's like, I'm shadow banned on TikTok, so I don't post on TikTok anymore. They won't let me delete my account. But I have a really good following on Instagram and Facebook, so I utilize that. And then I was doing really well on YouTube for a while, but then like it just stopped all of a sudden, and I started only getting like 100 views per video, so I kind of gave up on that. So I don't know, it's like a really weird game.
Yeah, and I feel like every app is like different. But with TikTok, I remember when you like restarted your account, it got like banned or it got like
oh my God. Well, let me give you the story.
I want the tea.
It's so stupid, and it's my fault, but it's so stupid. So when I started going viral on TikTok, I used to do live streams just for fun. And I thought maybe I could make some money. I didn't really make any money, but I thought like, oh, I should start doing this and just do live streams and answer questions about comedy or whatever. So I started doing that. And that was the first time I noticed that I was getting followed by a ton of men.
Yeah.
And I don't think my jokes are particularly male forward. I actually think they're a lot more female forward.
Yes. Yeah.
But like men like to be negged. So I think that like they were into the fact that like a pretty comedian was doing jokes about them. So they followed me. So a lot of dudes started like being like, where's your OnlyFans? Are you going to start an OnlyFans, all this shit? And my boyfriend, who at the time we had only been dating like maybe a few months, but he is in the comedy world and is in the media world. And he was like, honestly, you could do an OnlyFans and just make it like PG-13. And then that way, like, you know, if something happens, it's not like your, you know, ass is on the internet.
Correct.
Like you can just kind of do like bikini pictures or like boudoir type stuff. So I started that, and I really liked it, and it was really fun. And I decided to go on a live stream one day and like announce that I started an account. And I did not know, which is stupid, that on TikTok you like can't say the words OnlyFans.
Really?
Like if you say the words OnlyFans, you will immediately get like a violation or banned or something. So
I didn't know that.
I was on live for like maybe 2 minutes, and I put my OF link in my link tree, which was on my TikTok and everything else. And I said OnlyFans a few times. I was like, I started an account, blah, blah, blah. And my screen on my phone all of a sudden went black.
No.
And then I tried to I restarted my phone, and then I tried to log into the TikTok app, and it had logged me out. And then I got an email saying that your account has permanently been banned. You violated community, whatever. Yeah. And then I repealed it, or I appealed it. Yeah. I sent like a message back, or I hit, appeal or whatever. And I groveled. I was like, I am so sorry. I had no idea I couldn't do this. I'm a stand-up comedian. I'm just using this app to promote my stand-up. I'm so sorry. I won't do it again. And so they gave me my account back, but I didn't get any of the views I used to get. I didn't get any of the likes. I started losing followers every week. I'd lose at least 100 followers.
Damn.
So it was like, after that, I never went viral again. I never was able to get above like maybe 10,000 views. And so for a year and a half, I just struggled through TikTok. And then eventually I just gave up, and I just deleted the app off my phone.
It's probably, the direction things are going is probably the right move, because TikTok is about to get probably banned anyways. So
yeah.
So it's okay. They can suck it. They're missing out.
Well, also I find it so annoying that, and TikTok I feel like is one of the only platforms that does this. I could be wrong, but it's like they punish you through the app, not even in the way that like, oh, like you've been, like you have a violation, you can't go live anymore. That's fine. Yeah. But don't like suppress my videos. And like to the point where I had 245,000 followers, and I would post a video and it would get like 500 views. And then the people that followed me, some of them reached out to me and were like, why aren't you posting anymore? And I'm like, I am, you just can't see it because TikTok is an asshole. So I hate that platform.
No, was that, and if this is TMI, you don't have to share, but were you like making money off of like the creator fund, like because of your following?
Kind of. I mean, not a lot. Like I had a few videos get like a few like 1 million views.
Yeah.
Over the course of like a year and a half or whatever. And I think I made total maybe like $200. Like
that is more than most people.
Yeah, like the people who are making like tens of thousands of dollars on TikTok are people that are getting like 90 million views on one video, or they're like going live and they have like hundreds of thousand people. Like it's an insane ratio.
Yeah, that's wild. That's
so dumb.
No, Instagram, I enjoy. Especially, I mean, recently, I always am like, I mean, even, referencing what you posted today as far as like your male viewership, that was wild. But also like, I really enjoy your content on What's in My DMs.
Thanks.
Those always pop off. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. When did you start doing those?
I think last year when I was on tour, actually, because I didn't have time to like edit videos while I was on tour. So I was like just filming stupid shit in my hotel rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting so many creepy DMs that I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this would be a way to like make content without, having to like do a lot. So
or like burn material or anything like that.
Online. Yeah. And so I just started doing them last year. I think it's crazy. I've only done like 6 videos. Like
those?
It feels like I've done a lot more, but it's only 6 videos.
The content, I mean, the last one that you put up was they're all really funny because people are freaks. Mm-hmm. And especially, I mean, and then I saw you posted, this is just me reviewing what I've stalked, and I apologize. This is what this is what this is.
This makes me feel so important.
You are important. Like people talk about like representation, looking for you are my representation.
Thank you. I'm trying, man. I'm fucking in there.
Just a brunette with big boobs. I've had a breast reduction, and so like when I hear your jokes, it's something that I have tried to talk about in stand-up, but I'm always like, I feel weird. I don't know. I'm just like, that's a whole thing. But hearing your jokes about like talking about growing up with big boobs, and I was even just like looking at your old clips and stuff, it's just validating. And so I always,
that's the whole point.
I always connect with your content. But I was saying like you posted like, I think it was a picture just of you with like a gal, like one of your friends.
Oh my God.
And the comments on that were insane.
Yeah, and it's too bad because I don't read my comment sections anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But
which is healthy. That's good.
Yeah, on that one in particular, like Allie, my friend, is like my best friend. Like I've known her since I was like 7, and she, is a makeup artist in LA, so she's in the industry. She understands like people are crazy, but I was afraid that people were going to start commenting on like her appearance. And I wanted to go in and like delete the mean comments because I was like, I don't want her to be subjected to my shitty audience or whatever.
Sure.
But it turned into me getting angry because I'm like, we are both objectively beautiful women.
Stunning.
We work very hard at what we do. Like it's literally just a photo of us together. Mm-hmm. And it's like several men were talking about having a threesome with us. Which one of us was prettier, calling us different names. Like, and I don't like know sometimes what to do or what to say because I understand that if I get angry, it gives them power. Mm-hmm. But there's also a part of me that's like, no, these men need to know this is not okay.
Exactly.
So I blocked a few of them, but it's kind of up in the air for my strategy. I don't know.
It seems overwhelming. Does like the comments you get online and like how men act, does that translate to like at shows and like people coming up to you in person?
It's kind of like hit or miss. Like obviously at shows people are much nicer because people won't say that shit to your face.
No.
But what I've found, and I've talked about this before, that is why I get frustrated with my audience, is that online I'm like, men, incels, those are the people that love me, those are the people that follow me. But when I do a show, I feel like the girls in the audience are the ones that are coming up to me after the show and they're like, oh my God, that was so good. I can't wait to follow you. Like, I relate so hard.
Yeah.
And then their boyfriends are just kind of like, yeah, my girlfriend thought you were really funny. And like, so I don't get how that happens in person, but then online it's different. But I will say there have been a few times or a few shows where there have been like creepy men, or there have been men that have showed up that I've kind of had to like tell the owner, like, hey, I think this guy follows me and he thinks that I'm going to like go out with him or something. Like, can you just kind of be a buffer?
Yeah.
It hasn't happened a lot. It's like maybe 3 times in the past, few years, but it does suck when it happens.
Yeah. I don't know. And it's obviously the bravery of not having to look a person in the face when you're typing that stuff online.
Right.
So it's just so much easier.
Even if I'm on stage and like the men in the audience are like thinking about my body or my boobs or whatever, it's like they're not gonna, they're with their wife, they're with their girlfriend, they're with their boys. They're not gonna like be an asshole to me. But when they have, a screen between us, it's so much easier. And it's so annoying.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's very, I feel like, I don't know. I've honestly, not so much from audience, but like participating in comedy I started doing stand-up in Omaha. I'm in Omaha now. But like the local scene, just like some people that show up in the scene, I feel like I had gotten weird comments from, like as peers, and that I'm like, sometimes, I don't know, I'm almost, none of it's good. No kind of harassment is good.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like with an audience there's some control with the venue, getting people kicked out, but all in all, it is just shitty, and no one should have to go through that.
Well, and it's like weird that female comedians go through this and it's so normalized. And even the fact that you and I are talking about it on a podcast and it's like, oh yeah, we've both been harassed by men. Yeah. Like, oh yeah. Sometimes I go to a show and there's a guy stalking me to my car. Haha, so fun. Like the fact that it's so normal is insane because when I don't know if you have this experience, but when I talk to like male comedians about, oh, this happened, or this guy said this to me, or this guy made me feel uncomfortable, 100% of the time, they're always like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
Oh my God, I would have punched that guy in the nuts. Oh, that's crazy. Like, but then it's like, it's so crazy to them that they have never gotten off stage and felt somewhat unsafe or objectified. And so they can't relate at all.
Or even, I feel like even just telling like friends and family that are removed from comedy, like they're like just outsiders looking in, they're like, that's like a thing that is like, very regularly. And I identify as a lesbian, so it's like now I'm more out about that in my shows. And the last I think even this like past year, I've noticed like it's just, I feel like I don't know, this is kind of off topic but not really, women have been more forward with like inappropriate behaviors as well at shows with me, because it's like I feel like, I don't know, it's like as much as men are gross and creepy, I do think women have shown me that they also have the capacity to do that. And so it's like,
really?
It's been, that's been like an interesting factor of like harassment at shows.
Is it like queer women?
Women that are, for example, I did a show at a brewery and a woman, she was like maybe in her like late 30s, and she was like, she's drunk. She came up behind me and she slapped my butt, and told me like, good job. God. Crazy, like grabbing me and saying like, I'm totally straight, but like you, if I was like you, like that kind of stuff. And I was like, this is actually worse than what any man has done.
No, it's 100% worse, because then if you are like, if you set a boundary and you're like, hey, that's not okay, then it's almost like, oh my God, well, I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl. It's like, no, it's not. You still can't do that.
That was a boundary I had to like explain to like my male comic friends, that I was like, women can like still like make other women uncomfortable as well. Yep. And so, cause something crazy had happened, and one of my friends was like, I thought that's just like a girl came up and she had grabbed my vagina like in a group of people. Like she came up and was like, goodbye. And my friends were literally like, oh, we thought that's like how you guys said goodbye. I was like, in what
world? Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's insane. I think that me and you should collab on merch that just says, don't touch me.
Yeah, get away.
Get away.
Get away. That's the whole thing.
That's the whole vibe. You're in Denver right now, right?
Yeah. I
That's
moved to Denver
awesome.
like a year and a few months ago.
Denver's gorgeous. I envy.
I love Denver.
Yeah. You started doing stand up in Florida, am I right?
Yep, Jacksonville, Florida,
Dang.
the comedy capital of the
South. It is because you started there, so now it is now the comedy capital.
It's so funny because like I don't know why, for some reason when I tell people I started in Florida or they ask like and I tell them it's there's always someone that's like, oh yeah, I know a comic from Florida, or like, oh yeah, I know this guy, and it's like because Florida is so huge and there's so many big cities in it that there's so many comedians that have like started there and then moved elsewhere that like Florida has a connection to everywhere. It's just like sense. The cancer of this culture. It's like
Florida, I mean, even just I've only ever been there for like vacation and stuff, and driving from city to city is miserable because you're like, this should only be 45 minutes. Why is it 2 hours?
Yeah, everything is like 2-3 hours away from each other.
Exactly.
I mean, I will say like I had a blast doing comedy in Florida, like because I didn't have any concept of what other scenes were like or what other cities were like. So to me, like Jacksonville was super fun. We had some really fun open mics. We had some really shitty ones, but so does every scene.
Yeah.
And then once I kind of got in with some of the clubs and I was like road dogging every weekend, like I had a ton of fun. And it was definitely, hard because I was learning how to be funny for people who were like leaning more to the right or who were older and they didn't get new references or maybe just didn't really want to listen to a young girl on stage. But I think it taught me to be like universally funny.
Yeah.
Versus like, just sticking to one little niche. But I had a blast. I'm happy to be out.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be in Denver, but it was very fun when I was there.
What year did you start? Sorry to hit you with these basic questions, but I am genuinely
curious.
I
like talking. Yeah. No one really asks me this stuff. So I'm like, I'm an attention whore. I will talk about myself for
what's your sign? Seriously though, what is your sign? I need to know. Are you a Leo?
Oh, Scorpio.
Scorpio? Okay. All right. Trying to see where the attention whore fits in, but
somewhere deep down.
Yes. But yeah, I'm so curious. Like, how long have you been doing it? And then, what was that like?
I've been in July. At the end of this month, it'll be 4 years.
Okay.
And I started during the pandemic.
Bold.
Because the pandemic lasted like 15 hours in Florida. So I literally I was on FaceTime with a guy friend of mine. And I think I said something, I don't know. I said something funny and he was like, you should try stand up. And then I asked my friend Allie, who was in that photo, she lives in LA. I was like, oh, I think I want to try stand up. And she was like, oh, my friend took a comedy class. And then they did like a performance at the end of the comedy class. Like maybe they have that, where you are. And I was like, there's no way there's something like that in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
But I Googled it and there was.
Yes.
And I took a class for like maybe 4 weeks. It was like 5 people with masks on, like spread out in this little studio. And then at the end of it, we did a showcase at the open mic that the studio held every week.
Yeah.
And I just kind of got hooked from there.
Yeah. We have a very similar, it's called the Backline in Omaha, which if you come through, I'm serious.
I really do want to come to Omaha. I need to plan like a little trip. Yeah.
There's, so many venues. We get very excited when comics want to come to Omaha, and so you will be taken care of. But cool. It's a very similar thing where you do the class and then you have your class performance. Could you have seen yourself like doing stand up without a class? Like, could you see yourself just like getting up there?
I don't know, because I'm so methodical with stuff because I have a lot of anxiety.
Sure.
So for me, like I have to gather as much information as possible before I do something. So even like literally even like I got a bike a month ago.
Yeah.
And I had to research bike trails around me.
Yes.
Like I couldn't just take my bike out.
No.
Like I took my car down to the creek to find the trail to then take my bike. Like I'm so weird about that.
You're looking at the menu before you get to the restaurant.
Yes.
You're investigating.
I will never forget this. during that time where my friend had told me to do comedy and I like didn't know, and I hadn't like signed up for a class or anything. I remember sitting on the edge of the bay where I lived in St. Augustine, and I Googled how to become a stand-up comedian.
I love that. That's so sweet.
And it literally was like, work on a 5-minute set, go to open mics, it was like whatever. But I was so scared. Like I knew I needed to take a class or do something because there was no way I could have written 5 minutes and then gone and did it.
Do you remember what your first 5 was about?
Yeah, it was horrible. And I will say this is a very weird situation. And since it happened, I've been like, I have been telling it to people because I think it's so weird.
Yeah.
I went to a studio that was a couple who taught like acting and comedy and maybe singing. I don't know. And the guy that ran it had been doing comedy for 10 years and he was a psychopath. And I did not know this. He was very nice. He was the kind of guy that like really knows how to manipulate people.
Yeah.
And so he ran this studio and like a lot of the students dropped out of the class before the open mic because he was very blunt and like would just tell people like, this isn't good. Like this is terrible, whatever.
Yeah.
So he would rewrite our jokes for us.
Whoa.
So the 5 minutes that I did was 100% written by him.
Yeah.
Even though it was based on notes that it was about, me going on Tinder dates. It was all like dating based. It was all like, being single, blah, blah, blah. And so it was stuff that I had like written out in whatever format I thought jokes were at the time.
Yeah.
And then he would edit it and make jokes. So it was not my
really
work.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so it was written well because as someone that was 10 years in, like he had enough experience, but it was kind of a bummer because after that, I started kind of working for him. Like I did video editing in exchange for like more classes.
Sure.
And it was like fine. But then he started getting really mad that I was going to other open mics with comedians who had a falling out with him because he's an asshole.
Yeah.
So I was going to these open mics in the actual scene of Jacksonville and they were telling me, hey, stay away from this guy. He's really manipulative, whatever. So he kicked me out of he blacklisted me from the studio.
Oh, yeah.
And he was really upset because I went on a podcast. This is the first podcast I was ever on. They asked me exactly what you asked me. Yeah. They go, do you think that you would have been okay in stand-up if you didn't take the class?
Yeah. And
I was like kind of arrogant at the time. I was like, I mean, I think I would have been okay, but I wouldn't have known joke structure, but I would have figured it out.
Yeah.
I don't
think that's arrogant. I think that's like, that makes sense.
It was the truth.
Yeah.
It was the truth. Like, and I mean, I'm glad that I took it either way, but yeah, he like called me and then was like, at 2 minutes and 38 seconds in, you said this and you're a disingenuous person. And he'd said to me, he's like, if you go around talking shit about my studio anywhere in Florida, I will release all of the material I've written for you online and everyone will know that you did not write it. So after that, yeah, that was like after like I had taken the class in July and this was in like September. Mm-hmm. So my first few months of comedy really were like super tumultuous. And I learned very quickly that there are a lot of shitty people in the comedy world.
Oh, real. So real.
Yeah. So that happened. And then there were other people that took his class. And then like a year later, he got ran out of town and he had to close the studio. And like a bunch of people were like, yeah, this guy's an idiot. And I think he got divorced from his wife. So he was a piece of shit. Yeah. So
wow.
But yeah, that's how it started.
That's actually really funny. I feel like I had, different circumstances, but very similar. Like when I started stand-up, I was super naive. And so there was someone, it's like a town 45 minutes away in Lincoln in Nebraska. They were offering like $20 for a writing session. And so I would come with all my bits and I had everything written out and I would do it and they would give me tags and all this stuff. It was a very like toxic, manipulative, pretty much what I'm learning is anyone who's like, let me help you write and give me money is maybe not a good person. I don't know. Cause I feel like,
it's like this weird thing where like a lot of people think that they can teach comedy when they've only been doing it for a few years. And like, I think there's validity in learning comedy. I think there's validity in like classes.
Yeah.
But it tends to be the type of people that teach classes, not all the time, but sometimes they tend to be people who are so arrogant in their own skill set that they think that they're going to make it more as a teacher than they will like as a comedian. And so they just tell everyone what to do.
Yeah.
And it's just so cringy.
And it's toxic. And also it's the almost like, yeah, it's the thing at the end where like if they feel scorned by you, they're like, well, I've done A, B, C, D, E. I can pull up your material and this is what I've written for you. And that's like what I hate, where I feel like now as I've learned, it's like I enjoy going to like workshops with other comics where it's like we put our bits out there and, you know, if someone thinks of a tag and says it out loud, that tag is yours. And you can use that. And like, if it feels right in your set. And I like writing like that, like, because I think that there is like some skill in collaborating with other comics, like to work on bits and stuff. I feel like that's important. But yeah, I related, I mean, not to the extent of that sounds like scary, but
yeah, it's so funny because I was so upset. Like because I really thought that he was going to like fuck me over. And you know, at the time, like I was 3 months into comedy and like, I had no idea. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know if people like would I didn't know if getting blacklisted meant that your career was over before it started. I don't know. So I was really upset. And then after that, I remember just being like, oh, that was like just one idiot dude.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to myself, I'm like, there are going to be a lot of other dudes like this. Like, this is just the beginning. And I was right.
Yes. There's so many, but I feel like, I used to like, I feel like my first like 6 months of stand-up were like, I was just learning like major life lessons, like, like very just like sped up, like things that probably people learn over the course of a couple years. I was just like in my face. And I was just, again, naive. I started when I was 20. How old are you, Morgan?
28.
I just like no frontal lobe, still no frontal lobe, but like, it's just, I feel like now I can like sniff out the character a little more. And maybe
it's so interesting how when you start like putting yourself in vulnerable positions, how you very quickly learn how to like navigate it, because I don't know what it is about. I don't know if you feel this way about comedy, but I feel like the way that I see the world now is completely different than when I saw it before I started doing comedy.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I want you to expand on that if you want, because I'm curious, but I definitely agree.
Yeah, I guess what I mean is like now, well, first of all, I respect artists a lot more. Like, not that I didn't respect them before, but I think now when I look at people who are like really pursuing like, you know, whether it's like making music or drawing or like whatever it is, I like really respect it more, because now that I'm like in the mud, it only makes me wonder like, well, what's their version of going to open mics every night? You know what I mean? What's their version of like submitting to festivals or showcasing for industry? Like, because there's all these kinds of steps that you have to take in any kind of like artistic creative career. But then also like, I think I see things differently now in terms of like, and this is kind of more recent, like when I go to a show, I'm less scared about like making the audience like me or making anyone like me, and just being like, oh, they're here to have a good time. I'm here to have a good time. Like, I do this because it's fun. I don't do this for the money. I don't do this because there's no money. I don't do this for, you know, like validation, maybe a little bit, but like, I don't do, it's not something that I'm pursuing because I think like people are going to like me more or I'm going to be successful. It's just because like, it's fun and I like to talk shit and I like to make people laugh. So now kind of, I feel like when I'm navigating other situations outside of comedy, I'm able to think of in that perspective of like, why are we here? Like, what is the core reason why we're here? And like, let's remove all of the other bullshit. Let's remove like everyone's biases, opinions. Like, let's just get down to the root of like what's happening here and what can we fix, or I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. It's like, it's just like taking yourself out of it. We're here to party.
Yeah.
Which is like, I work for Hurrdat, which is the place allowing us to be podcasting us right now.
Cool.
So I work here, but I host music bingo. And when I hosted music bingo, I had a very comedy mindset of like, I have to like put on the show. I have to be good. They have to like, and I'm like, no, people came to have a good time, to have a drink, to party. It's really not that deep. And so it's like, it sounds very similar to what you're saying. And I feel like it can translate to stand up where you're like, I want to put on a good show and like, just everyone have a good time ultimately.
Yeah. And I still struggle a lot with like insecurities and like, obviously I want people to like me and whatnot. But, now I look at other people or other like hobbies or careers that people have. And I just think to myself, I'm like, wow, I wonder if that person is doing what they are passionate about. I wonder if that's like what they're pursuing. Cause if so, like, that's really cool.
Yes.
You know? And I'm also really thankful that I even get to do this at all, because when I started comedy, I really was like working full time.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was in an office Monday through Friday, so my life was completely different.
Yeah.
So
it is. I feel like stand-up is a thing that when you step in, it does like transform every aspect. Everyone that I know that has like had a 9-to-5 start stand-up, they no longer have a 9-to-5.
Yeah.
Because
or they like just try to do literally anything else. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if how your career has changed. Like, obviously now you work at, you know, a media company, but like, when I was like maybe a year or so into 2 years into comedy, like every decision I made was to do comedy. Like, I only took sick leave if I was doing comedy.
Yeah.
I only took time off if I was doing comedy. And then I actually ended up leaving that job and getting a remote job just so I could do comedy. Like, so it was like every decision I made was to keep pursuing it, which is kind of insane.
No, it's like, it's a power move. It might feel insane, but it's like, I think it's a power move. That's like part of the reason, which, I mean, I live and breathe Hurrdat Media. I love them because.
Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my cat.
Do you have a cat? Let me.
Yeah, he's like jumping around right now and just being an insane crackhead.
Also, I have to say, I like your gallery wall behind you.
Oh, thank you. It's all I have like a pink and purple theme going in my apartment. Yeah.
It seems like I'm not there, but I just know it's got a very zen vibe.
It's a good vibe. It's a good vibe.
That's awesome. I was saying that I was going to say like, so Hurrdat, I enjoy it because they allow me the flexibility to like, you know, kind of make my own schedule and, you know, pursue comedy. And that's like, those jobs I feel like are so hard to find, but they're a blessing. And
right.
They're
and
awesome.
It's good to be a well-rounded comic. So like to have comedy, but then to have your day job be something also creative, I feel like is a huge flex, because, you know, there are comedians here that like during the day, they're a graphic designer.
Yeah.
So they do a lot of merch for other comedians, or maybe they're like a marketing manager. So they do social media for other comedians. Like, it's cool to have something else that you can be like, oh, I'm also skilled in this that relates to the industry.
Exactly. And that's another thing that I've like, part of working here that I've felt really good about is I'm like, this is a skill that can like help the other comics around me. And that's kind of dope, because I feel like that's like the new trend in the industry, which is like the only way to keep going up is like just to help the people around you. And, you know, it's like, I feel like it's less of a, I don't know. I feel like when I like was watching comedy coming up, it just seemed kind of like a competitive thing, where it's more of it feels like it's like more of a collaborative. I don't know.
If that's a good perspective to have.
Is it? I feel like maybe I'm talking out of my ass. Maybe I'm like, is it like?
No, I wish I felt that way.
Yeah.
I feel like, and it's because I'm too hard on myself. I feel like everything is a competition.
Oh. I feel like comedy, I feel like I'm very competitive as well. And so now I'm like, I no one is out there doing my stuff, so it's just me competing against me.
Yeah.
And I feel like that really helps. But there are still times where, I mean, I still got that hater in me. That I like.
Same. Honestly, you should keep it. I think that's you have to have a little bit of hater in you to be a good comedian.
You do.
I think so. You can't be 100% happy or 100% positive, because then you're just going to suck.
Yeah.
You have to be a little negative sometimes.
It's like I try to keep a positive thing, but every once in a while I go, no, they...
Because I mean, there are some people who don't deserve your help. There are some people that don't deserve positive energy. Obviously, they're far and few between, but like, I don't know. I like being a hater sometimes.
Being a hater can be cool, actually. I've been trying to reintroduce bullying back into our scene, but only selective bullying. I do think that there should be, I feel like I like the kindness with like, collabing with people, but I also, some people, we can't sugarcoat it. And I do think, I've said this before, I think there needs to be a little bit of bullying.
I sometimes like struggle with, because I feel like I'm very socially awkward sometimes. And so I'm not a good like hang comic. Like I'm really good one-on-one.
Okay.
I'm really good like, or even in Kansas City, like, when we're like all talking outside, like I'm comfortable because it's like there's more women there.
Sure.
It's like we were doing, the body language show, so it was super
that makes
positive.
sense. Yeah.
Whereas, the other night I was at like a showcase where we were like auditioning basically for a festival. And the whole time, even though I knew every comedian there and I've spent time with every comedian there, I just felt so incredibly like awkward and in my head.
Yeah.
Because I'm just thinking like, oh my God, like they all have known each other way longer than they've known me.
Sure.
I don't think I'm as funny as them. Like I get really overwhelmed easily. Yeah. And so sometimes I have to like remind myself that like, it's not that big of a deal. Like people don't care that much.
Yeah.
And like, even if you're not the funniest person in the scene, but you're like the nicest, people are going to book you and people are going to help you out. But I struggle with like the social construct of being in a scene. I don't know why.
Yeah, that makes sense. You said that and I was like, I don't agree. I felt like the energy you were giving off in Kansas City, I was like, very sociable, but makes sense. Beryl and Brittany Thailander are like, that's just, anyone, especially it's whenever I find like a space that's like alt and just like femme dominated, it's just
different. It's totally different.
Yeah. That is really cool. I will say we are kind of rounding down towards the end of this episode. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. I've been wanting to talk to you for a hot minute.
I'm here. We can do another one.
Well,
we can do another one.
When you come to Omaha, you can come in the studio. We can hang out in the studio.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I need to like figure out. Yeah. Like I don't really know. I think you're the only person I know in Omaha.
Girl, come rip a Funny Bone set. We got one of those.
Yeah. So I need to know how to get in there. You know what I mean?
You can do. I mean, getting into like any venue in Omaha, it would be very easy. I don't know how the Funny Bone works. I know who books it, but
okay.
It's mostly, I mean, we're loose around here.
Cool. We like that.
Yeah. So hopefully the next time we see you on, it's when you're performing maybe. Do you have plans of like building like a tour anytime soon?
Not really. I'm kind of at a weird like crossroads right now where I've been booked to headline a few times and I've done like one real like headlining weekend at a small room in Kentucky and it was really fun, but I don't feel 100% about my 45. So I'm kind of like, I'll take headlining gigs, but I'm not like looking to like really push into them. I think right now I'm trying really hard to like create material that flows together nicely so that when I do go back and like I have some headlining sets like booked. Yeah. But I don't really have like a tour that I'm working on. I think right now, like I just got a manager like in October or something. Nice. So like our goal is like, I need to have like that tight 5 that I can start like shopping around and like submitting everywhere. And I think that's harder.
It's hard. I feel like it's hard to like say who you are and also like be everything in 5 minutes. 5 minutes is and
I've found that like I really hate industry showcases. I really hate. What
is that?
Like,
you've said that before. I've never heard that term before.
Oh, so I learned that term the first time that I went to a really big comedy festival. I went to Big Pine Comedy Festival.
Okay.
And that was the first like kind of big industry festival I've ever done.
Yeah.
And what I mean by industry is like, they have people representing clubs from across the country. They have people from management companies. They have people from agencies. They have talent scouts for like cruises and colleges. And they're usually just like people that are kind of friends with each other. And they're like, hey, I run this festival. Can you come be industry, whatever? But then you do like an industry showcase where, every comic does 5 minutes. The audience is all industry. So it's people that have seen so much comedy that they don't laugh.
Oh God.
And
that sounds
it's not always that way. There are some industry people that are like really good audience members, but in my experience, I just feel like every showcase I've done, the other comedians and I tend to be like, oh wow, that was kind of a bummer,
Yeah.
Oh, and there's a lot of pressure too, because at least for me, like, I feel like I've gotten more loose on stage where like I know my set, but if something happens, like I'll go off my set. So if I'm sticking to just this 5 and I have to do this 5, and if I don't get a laugh on every punchline, it's like, oh, they're not going to pick me. Then I immediately like don't have fun. So
yeah, no, that sounds
maybe we'll get better.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Oh man, that sounds all right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the type 5, how that evolves.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Best of luck. We'll have your social media. We'll have where people can find you tagged. But if you have anything upcoming that you want to plug, any projects, fun things like that, this is your time to shine.
Yeah, I actually am starting my own podcast.
Yes! What are we
doing? I had a podcast for a while. It was very comedy based.
Yeah.
It was a pain in the ass. I was like, it has nothing to do with my personality. I don't want to do it. But I am starting a podcast and I've filmed a few episodes so far. It's going to come out in like mid-July. It's called My Body, My Jokes. And it's going to be a podcast about my experience in the industry, the bullshit I put up with. I'm going to have a lot of guests on to talk about like body image, body positivity, our overall culture surrounding body image. Talking about, shapewear and the fact that there's so much fat phobia and diet culture. So I
love this.
It's the first time that I feel like I'm being truly authentic to myself, and because I'm going through eating disorder recovery right now. And so I'm like tired of like pretending like I'm this whatever comedian. It's like, no, I actually have all this shit going on and I'm going to talk about it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, look out for that. It'll be, streaming everywhere, but I'm aiming for like mid-July.
That is so exciting. I love the concept. You already have a fan.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
And it's also secretly a way for me to get more female followers. Like I'm literally just hoping so much that like other women follow me when they start seeing clips, because I'm like, we need to push out the men.
Exactly. And honestly, I will do everything that I can to help support that initiative. That is amazing.
If you ever come to Denver, I'd love to have you on.
Oh, fuck yeah. Absolutely. I was just in Denver a couple months ago, just bebopping around, and I did do a couple mics, and I got very overstimulated at those mics.
Yeah, it was a lot of people.
It was a lot of people. I mean, I had friends there, so like I didn't have to wait like the whole night, but I was still like, this is different.
It can be a lot. Trust me, I get it.
That's so exciting. I'm very excited to listen to that. That's really cool.
Thank you. I'm hoping it's good. We'll see.
No, I mean the concept, things that you're talking about. I feel like, especially having the perspective of being a performer on stage, doing stand-up, and it's just like very important and validating for even, I mean, me personally. Those are all topics, and I've struggled with eating disorders. I've struggled with every single thing. So it's music to my ears. And so I like seeing that. But thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, time out of your life to come out and talk.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course, you're a gem. Yeah, I'll see you around.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Joslyne.
Thanks.